I don't like to say stupid anymore. That subject is near and dear to my heart. I wrote a book a few years ago called Craving Success about the 20 businesses I've attempted over the years. And as I was writing it about all my mistakes and aha moments, I kept saying, I should call this book KISS. Because every time I've been successful, 2 times, it's because it's been simple. And this pattern of, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but me, as this woman, I like to do a lot of things. I like to have a lot of balls in the air, just like, or what, plates in the air, move them around. The mistakes I was making over and over and over, it was because I was complicating things way too much. So I started thinking, oh, keep it simple. Simplicity really works. So I've been preaching this subject forever now, and I've done so many things that have like I sell strawberry shortcake at all the fairs. I grew up in a strawberry farm and been in the food business for 25 years. And people stand in line and hand me cash. I just love that business. But I didn't stop there. I decided I better sell s'mores and cobbler, and what else did I do? Pie baked in a bag. And just kind of create, I thought people are standing in line and hand me cash for shortcake. Why don't I just start all these other things and just go into competition with my own self? So they'll either buy pie or shortcake, and then I keep saying to myself, no. People come here for the shortcake. Why don't you just keep it simple and not complicate your life so much, and so just sell shortcake. And then the same thing goes to, we only have 4 things on the menu. When you come up to our booth, it's like strawberry shortcake, raspberry, and berry coolers. It's not this really long menu of 50 things, just to make it really simple. And I just started realizing what I was doing when I was making things complicated and it wasn't working. It was just so confusing for people. I've even had the Crave membership so confusing in the last couple of years. I said, let's just start a Crave membership and I'll give you 3 choices to join. You know, premium, 1, 2, 3, ABC, premium, whatever, standard. And then people would go, great, that sounds great. Let me go away. I've made it so complicated. I've told you, do not do business with me. Because you have to go home and think about it. And that's just not good. And so I'm like, oh, what? Take a little advice from your own self. Keep it simple. I'm working on I was talking to these guys on the way down here today. I'm like, I have nothing to report about my personal life being simple, which is what you're going to talk about. But because I have all these examples of business, making business simpler. But I am here tonight to learn from these lovely gals that I went out to happy hour with Jen a few weeks ago, and I'm like, what? You can do all that personally? You can read books and do all these personal things. That sounds so good.
True story.
Yeah, and so I'm going to learn tonight. I have no examples personally to tell you about the personal life, keeping it simple, but I need to learn that. I'm sure you all have some ideas that you can share too. I'm just more about, my experience has been in business and just keep complicating my life way too much and just always bringing it back to simplicity and try to do, that 80-20 rule where, just spend 80% of your time, 100% of your time and focus on what you do really well. And the faster we can learn that, the better. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. I look at your life from the outside, and I've worked with you a couple times on a couple events, and I want to hear how you hold this all together. And you're so good at attention to detail. And so I want to hear how you kiss this. I need advice from you.
Well, I have this really archaic day planner.
Paper.
And the only thing that was left, and I'm sorry, it's pink, and I don't really like pink, aside from, the obvious thing. But, yeah. So it's paper, but the thing that I found, and this is one of those things I'm trying to stick better to this year. I was telling Jen earlier, I'm like, I actually made a New Year's resolution. I never do that. And it's not because I don't stick to them. I just don't want to be like everybody else and make resolutions. So I just feel edgy. I'm going to wait until March to make my resolution. No, I think it's really because I'm lazy. I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that. I'll do it in March. But the reason I have to do it is because what you were just saying, about the menu, my lists were getting so long that I'm like, I'm not going to do any of those. It's like, I'm not going to order all that food. Why do I need all that? So I started doing something where I just write down a few things that are my priority. Has anyone ever taken the Franklin Covey Remember that system where you prioritize? So it's sort of like a reduced version of that, and it's kind of making my life bearable on the days when I'm like, I have to get done, rather than having at the top of my 70 item list, taxes, do your taxes,
Right.
your receipts, all that. So yeah, that's what happened. So what I decided to do when I made this resolution, and this is actually after the beginning of the new year, because I got the flu and was sick for like 3 weeks, it was awful. But it gave me a lot of time to think and strategize what I wanted to do, just with my life, not just my business, but my life in general. And what I needed to get back to was a schedule and a routine. I think part of like being over 40, which is so awesome, is metabolism and weight gain and all this stuff. And I'm realizing that. So in the last year, I've gained like 15 or 20 pounds. I stopped kind of counting and caring, obviously. So I'm like, I got to get back on track. So that will help me when I focus and have a routine again. So I'm going back to my old routine, and I've been doing this the last couple weeks, where I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and working out, which sounds crazy, but I used to do this all the time and was really good at it. And I have such a routine that it's down to like the products. Like I have one product for like shampoo. I use the Dr. Bronner stuff. So I use that for shampoo. I use it for everything. I mean, I don't have anything else. I use a conditioner for shaving product. For those who care to know. When I exfoliate, I use sugar. I use actual sugar. But I found that these things, I don't have a lot of clutter, and I'm not thinking about all this. My boyfriend actually has more products than I do. It's kind of embarrassing. And then the same thing with my other products. It's like I have it like that, and I'm like, okay, well, there was this sale and I got BOGO and, you know, whatever. I don't, because I just end up not using it, and then I discover another product, and so it's just waste. So when it comes to those little things, the less I have to deal with stuff like that, and it's just there, I'm constantly knocking it over. Like, crap like that can just start my day in a tailspin. So that's why I have to get back to a schedule. And then once I've, you know, done my workout and shower, and then I'm ready to get into my work routine, which is kind of unusual because working from home I've only been doing for the last couple of years. And it's been great in a lot of respects, but it's also been just weird because you have to get in such good habits with the way you work and the way you spend your free time, and finding a really good mix in between those two. Especially in the industry I work in, where it's like, I could be working 7 days in a row because I'm doing event setup, tear down, but then my other clients expect me to do this on Monday and So I started creating structure on having days off. So for a while I was doing days off on Sunday, Monday. It was great, especially during our busy wedding season. But getting back to starting your day and all that, and coming into the office. So starting to get into the office by 10, which seems like a long ways from now. But I'll tell you what I do. First thing is like I don't do any work or emails with clients until 9 a.m. It's just a rule that I have, period. Which means I can screw around on Facebook before that. And also kind of get my ideas brewing of what I want to post, because I have to be timely, as you know, in marketing, with what I'm posting them, what time, so by the time 9 o'clock hits, I'm like, okay, you're off. You can't be on that anymore. So I thought about grade schoolers, and how back then we always had, you had to do it at this time, you had to do it at this time, and now it's time for social studies, and now it's time for this. So even though I could write stuff in my calendar, I had to start rethinking how I'm doing this and kind of become a kid again. Because I am getting better at pulling myself off of social media, I've only allowed myself a 3-hour check. So 9 o'clock, done. I can do it again at 12, I can do it again at 3, and I can do it again at 6. The only caveat is if I'm in line, I'm going to look at Instagram, sorry. I mean, I have to. Until I get better at this. Plus, I also realize that if I'm not constantly, I'm like, it's only 3 new photos in my feed. Lame. You know, it's so frustrating. But I find that if I check every 3 hours, it's so much better, because that way I'll be like, oh my God, there's all this great content. It's exciting. I have little reminders, and I need to change these. where I know every Monday I have my receipts reminder at 11 a.m. Guess what I don't like to do at Monday at 11 a.m.? My receipts. I've only been like here in the office maybe, unless I'm at an appointment for an hour, and I'm like, I think my receipts are at home, like I don't even know where they are. So things like that I'm still fine tuning, but if I have some sort of once a week check-in or something like that, I do really good with that. And then, backing up, sorry. Where I live, like I said with my boyfriend, I live in 625 square feet. It's a very tiny house, very tiny. And we have a dog and 2 cats. And we have 1 bathroom, as you can imagine, and 1 tiny closet. So when he moved in early last year, I realized that he has just a lot more stuff than I do, which was kind of a good feeling because I'm like, oh, I'm not the crazy one. So we're still working on that, but I was like, I need to figure out a wardrobe or a uniform. So for a while I was just doing these white shirts and black pants or my jean skirt, which is kind of the only thing I can wear right now, embarrassingly enough, because I've gained 20 pounds. So I'm just always wearing tights and a jean skirt. But I was wearing these white Oxfords, but then all of a sudden I would get them dirty. And I'm like, okay, shit. But the idea is still there that I'm like, I'm keeping with one kind of look or whatever to make my life simpler. And I'm going to fine tune that when I get back on track, but I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. But I don't have to think about it as much. It reminded me of when I worked at Universal Studios and I worked in the theme park, and all of a sudden they gave all those managers, they're like, you get to wear these great polos. With what? And they're like, with khaki. And they're like, awesome, fashion. And, you know, you had to wear like Mary Jane shoes and, you know, really squishy earth shoes, and just did not feel cute. But the thing that I liked about it was that I didn't have to think about what I was going to wear. It was awesome. So figuring all that out helps me out. But that's kind of what my keep it simple is, constantly a work in progress. And I think giving ourselves routines or templates for if it's at work, if it's at home, like if you have shopping lists, I mean, there's apps for everything. So I know I need to be utilizing them more. I mean, I at least download them, so that's a start. So cool. I'm never going to use that. But things that simplify, so you're not constantly, you know, like this all the time, or just looking off into space. Again, I was mentioning earlier when I had the flu, it was great because I wasn't on Facebook a lot. I was kind of just laying down watching Law and Order SVU. And it was really relaxing, and I didn't feel like I had to constantly be doing something. And I think because we're all getting so accustomed to that, and not focusing on maybe what really matters, even if that's our work, our home life, whatever it is to you, maybe it is your work, and maybe there's just a way to focus on it to make your work that much better. But yeah, keeping it simple is not that hard. I think it just takes practice and practice and practice, and you're gonna make mistakes, and you just have to get back on track. So that's what I have to say about that.
I really like that uniform idea.
Yeah,
You could just
so
do the same thing every day.
So when I was researching it, I'm like, I want to do just white and black, and all these, like, I was like, white and black. Who wears? And I'm like trying to think of who wears white and black. Fran Lebowitz, if you know who she is, like, she just, I mean, you'd never consider her a fashionista, but she always looks great, right? She just got that on it. And then it was like Karl Lagerfeld. I'm like, oh yes, that's exactly who I'll dress like. But like all these other people came up, like Michael Kors always wears the same thing, and just, you don't even really think about it, you know? I'm like, oh, I'll just accessorize the crap out of it. And there was a gal who started in New York, it was like called the Uniform Project, and she had these rompers, and they were really cute. They were like just all black, and I think they had a couple little pockets, and they're not making them anymore. But it went to some sort of charitable foundation, but they're not making them anymore. So maybe I'll find someone around here that can make us some cute little rompers with pockets in black, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'm going to show you a few things, because one of the things that I figured out about myself over the last year, and this is part of what you're like, what? Is that I'm super visual. And so I don't want to do anything without a visual aid anymore, which is super new to me, and it's only been a year with it. So I can't dishonor it. Okay, is that cool? Is that cool? All right. So we're gonna go this way with it. This is coming from, by the way. So where this all started, I had a boss that told me to my face, "You're not creative." Ooh. And this was like a crushing experience for me, right? And I didn't really know why it was so upsetting. But as a marketer especially, like, and as a human, and I was like, what the hell? And I looked down at my outfit, and I was wearing like an old ratty t-shirt and like cute jeans, but like not really like, oh, maybe like not on the outside. On the inside, maybe creative, but not on the outside. And not like boring outfit, but just like, I'm sitting in this meeting and I'm not creative and it's true. And I was like, oh man. Right, so this is like the beginning of the series. This is like, that was the sad beginning of where this all started, right? And we're gonna go sad a little bit more, so stick with me. So this is kiss, but it's really, because this is how I do things, it's really kiss it.
Kiss it.
Right? Just kiss it. Because this is my attitude right now about everything. Like, screw it, we're doing it. Screw it, we're doing it. Kiss it, everyone, we're doing it our own way. Okay? Screw it, she hates presentations. Let me tell you this. This is things I know about Melody. She doesn't like people who do presentations. I'm doing a presentation, right? So this is kiss it. I'm like, I know she's back there. I know she's really mad, and I'm doing it anyway. Right? I know this is outside the rules, and I'm still doing it. Right? This is how it's starting. All right. So, top 5 regrets of the dying. So for like the last 5 days, I've been like, what the hell am I going to say to these people? What am I going to say? Like, she said, you're keeping it simple, and I'm like, she doesn't even know. I'm crazy up here, right? Like, the crazy people. I'm like, what am I going to say? And so I just like, here's a weird thing that I did. I sat with it. I sat with the fact that I was like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. And I'm going to wait, and I'm just going to sit with it until I have an answer, which is like the worst thing ever. I'm just going to sit with something and not do anything. And also, part of the new, how do you keep it simple? You sit with stuff. Bullshit. I hate it. All right. But last night, after the Super Bowl, after running in the streets, I found my inspiration. And it was something I've seen a whole bunch of times. So this thing keeps showing back up in my life. And it's mostly the article that was in The Guardian about this book. But there's this book about the top 5 regrets of the dying. And it's a woman who was a nurse and who felt like her life had no meaning. And she became this nurse of these patients who are all passing away, right? And it changed her life, and she's written the story. And so this article in The Guardian shows up every once in a while and gets passed around the internet, and everyone's like, pay attention to this. And for 5 minutes, I read this thing about top 5 things that people who are passing away have to say. These are the wisest people, and no one is listening to them, and it made me so angry with myself. And then I thought, oh, I could tell 15 more people about this, and how good would that make me feel that we talked about it for 5 more minutes. But these people who are so wise and have all these wonderful things to say, and now I'm going to cry. And we listen, and we talk about it. And so these are my 5 things, and I had my inspiration. And so I sat, and I listened, and I got my answer. And so this is a stupid thing that I hate still working, right? Okay, this is not me. This is not how I do things, except it is, and it works. So the biggest 5 things, and you can read them here, and you can read this book, and you can read the article as well, but I'll read them to you. I wish I had the courage to be myself. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Not that I would ever say that to you guys. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends, and I wish I had let myself be happier. These are the 5 things. These are the 5 regrets that they had. And so that's the really sad part of it, and we can think about all of those things and take them with us, but they're also like 5 things that you should do, and I love that. And I love taking something like this, and it's got a little bit of sad, and you put the light on it, right? And so let's put some light on it. Is that cool? Okay. Note, most of these images are Pinterest. And this is also full disclosure, things that you should know about me, right? You want to get to know people. This is actually from my Pinterest board. So this is real me. This is me showing up in the things that I do. I'm totally a Pinterest addict, and also these are the things that totally inspire me. So you guys are being let in. So get to know you and then be that. Know that you're not and that it's enough. Courage, right? Saying what you're really thinking, saying what you're really doing, showing up to a happy hour with someone who I really look up to in business and being like, I deprioritized my business. And I prioritized my life. Was a really interesting thing to say to someone out loud. She's like, what have you been up to? And I was like, well, I took a jewelry making class and I went to the library and I was with my sister and her 4 kids when she had her 4th baby, and I spent New Year's Eve alone. And I like said real stuff, and like she was like, what? What are you talking about? And I was like, so then I'm going to take a dance class and then this and that and whatever. And she's like, well, what's going on at work? And I was like, oh yeah, I might do this thing or I might do this thing. But here, you should read this book, and then I'm going to take this breathing class, and you should come with me. And we ended the whole thing, and she was like, let's go snowshoeing. We still have to do it March 2nd, yes. And this was different, right? This is like the courage to do something really different and have a different conversation. So this was the first one, and this is the part about these people having the courage to do what you want to do, not the expectation of somebody who I consider a mentor sitting across the table from me and me being like, okay, well, here goes. So that's phase 1. Phase 1 for me was that work less and love more. This for me was really, I went through a breakup at the end of last year that was like earth-shattering for me. I had built a family with this person, and when that was removed from my life, I had nothing except me. And could have easily gone the path that I'd gone like a zillion times over, which was like, oh, I could just be a workaholic. That's easy. But not like crazy in love. And crazy in love with my life, truly, like in love with everything that I was doing. And let's be real about the fact that that doesn't happen every day, ever. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, I have a solution. I have like 3 minutes where I'm like, yeah, my life is good. And then I have like, I'm still so sad about him and that, right? So like, but 3 minutes is pretty awesome. And 3 minutes when I'm really freaking good is really awesome. And like 3 days of like, I just did awesome stuff. Is where I'm at and what I'm excited about. So working less and having really happy fun days in 3 fun minutes in a row, or 3 fun days in a row, is what I'm talking about. Success from my world. Creative language. This is what we call creative language here. And this quote, okay, so this is one of my favorite things. I hope your day is as nice as your butt is, first of all, something amazing you just need to think about always. But I'm so glad you get my sense of humor because I think I'm funny, but you make it official. It is a great, this is something that my best friend and I shared, and this is really, truly like, I had, again, with Melody, we sat down in October, and I said, I've made a terrible mistake. And she's like, what do you mean? How terrible could this be? And I said, I lost all my girlfriends. There's something about that moment where you stand and you're going through a breakup and you're alone that you're like, what have I done here? And where did my priorities go wrong, right? And not just like girlfriends, but like the kind of girlfriends who you talk about poop and farts and boogers and like, what, close your ears. What's going on? Some regions, right? Like, we need to be able to talk about some shit because if you can't talk about this, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I didn't know, like, I had these people, I had 2. I had 1, kind of. I had 2, right? Really good friends, and that's all it took. And that was, like, 3 months ago. But I had 2. And now I have, like, a posse. And it is the coolest shit ever, right? These girlfriends are amazing. And we talk about poop, and that's a new, I had that, and what I will tell you a little bit about the story of that, a year ago, I started a process of getting to know myself, which was super scary, just like being alone with myself and going through change and letting life come and doing all of these things. And I did an inventory and got rid of a bunch of friends and forgot to replace them. Truly replace them with a boyfriend and kids and a business and all this other stuff, and I didn't, and you talk about this all the time, but I didn't replace them, and so learn from my mistake. Don't do this. Prioritize friends. And Mark and I talked about this before we started, that like it happens, right? But when it does, if you have one, if you have none, if you have some, you can do something about it. And I set an intention, which is a new thing that I did that I didn't believe in at all, but I set an intention that I was going to go find some girlfriends, and I told her in October that I was going to do that, and it has come, just like the 5 regrets has come, the girlfriends have come, and so that's keeping it simple for me, spending time with those people, doing my business, but then laughing with girlfriends is like win at business, do those things too, and like for sure make that happen. But like laugh with girlfriends, laugh with friends, be with people you love, and laugh. Shout from the rooftops. Share your story. Things I don't believe in. 9 months ago, I set an intention that I was going to sit in front of a room of people and tell my story. This is the part where I can't breathe and I feel like I'm going to throw up. I was a woman who didn't have any confidence, who didn't believe in that there was going to be a world that I lived in where I had a sense of value about who I was. And I can say now that that's not true anymore. And I can tell people out loud that I didn't believe in me at all. I looked to other people for that. And I found me. And I really like being in here and being on this side where I get to like talk to you guys and say things that are real. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now. And shouting from the rooftops, sharing my story with people who deserve to hear it. And so that's what happens when you sit on the other side and keep it simple. What that looks like for me, I journal in the morning. I meditate as much as I can. Meditation a lot of times looks like, could this be any slower or more boring? If I could just think about nothing, I would actually be doing this right. If I close my eyes, I'm meditating. If I have coffee in my hand, it's fine. Whatever version of this works for you. You're sitting on the mat, that's good enough. I'm holding a rock in my hand. Now I'm connected to the earth. Like, anything works, right? And like one thing, doing one thing. I did my yoga practice this morning. Most of the time I spent my time thinking about, holy crap, I still don't know what I'm going to say, but I was sitting on the mat, I was doing the practice, so I did the practice, and then I got to tell people how to do the practice, and it doesn't matter what you do, just do something, because it's for you, and that matters. Keeping it simple for me is really understanding the case of the fuck yeahs. And it's a thing that happens when you get a feeling and you're like, fuck yeah! About your life or whatever you're doing, and you really want to tell other people about it. And so right now, my keeping it simple is that. And it happens from a feeling, and without getting really quiet in the morning and dealing with all that business up in the head. And that yoga and that meditation, I would never know what that feeling is like because I'm so busy up here. My favorite fuck yeah of the moment, I quit Facebook. I quit Instagram and I quit Facebook, and it is the thing that like, yes!
But
I'm
not
so
Pinterest.
glad. Not Pinterest. Pinterest is my art. That's why. No. But I quit. Like I literally just quit. And that's like, I'm a marketer. I like don't believe in that, right? Like from a value system, I'm like, really? And honestly, like from a human being perspective, like kind of more important, right? Like, am I happy? Yeah. Was it making me unhappy? Was I super sucked in and addicted? Yeah. Did I not really like it? Right? Did I love it and hate it all at the same time because I knew what everyone was up to and also wasn't thinking at all about what I was doing with my own time? Yeah. So my whole story, the whole magic of everything for me is believe. Someone once told me I was delusional. I almost fell off my unicorn, is what that says. I honestly believe that life is magic, and if you simplify it and do these things and set these intentions for yourself and envision what your life can become, and then get really quiet and sit and do art and do other things, it will come. And so I believe, and it's magical. And so I want you guys to have that. Yeah? Let's set our intentions.
I'm happy that you sat with it. Wow.
Right?
When do you read a book?
When do I read a book?
Yeah, is it because you quit Facebook that you have time to read a book?
Totally.
Brilliant.
Also, I forced myself to go to the library. I set a date. So I have like a couple tactical things, true stories. I've done a lot of values work, like even basic stuff like the Strengths Finder, my own personal brand stuff to really figure out like, what the hell do I even believe in, right? Like, and that was really hard work. But working with people working on brand all the time, you figure out like, what's the meat? What's the heart? Get in there and like, what are you really all about? And I think I did the same work for myself. Like I did my own brand values exercise on myself, which took a lot of time and a lot of feedback from other people, which was hard. But those are your customers, right? So getting really clear on that. And then setting priorities. So my priority was happiness, highest level. Like what makes you happy? And so I quit Facebook because it wasn't making me happy. I went to the library because I walked in there and got a case of the fuck yes. I'm so sorry. I know she doesn't really like swearing that much either. So it was that, right? Reading books. I signed up for classes that I couldn't really afford to like, what are you gonna go spend all your money taking jewelry making classes? Yup. Why? Because it makes me really happy. And I ran out of there with something that I created and now I'm wearing every day and I have a reminder of how happy I am. Right? Like that happy feeling. When do I read a book? I read a book as part of my meditations in the morning because some days I can't shut my brain off enough to listen to my own thoughts, so I listen to somebody else's. I sometimes don't want to hear my own story anymore, so I read somebody else's. I go out with people for dinner and look at their actual face when they're talking to me and like live it and breathe it and be present with them. And I have a lot more time to do that now that I don't have Facebook. Right? It's also because I, get all this time to work on me. So I also am a very unique use case, right? My life is not filled with all, to my own detriment a lot of times because I don't want to be alone up here. I get a lot of time to do these things and I get a lot of time to prioritize. So coming from a place of I'm very lucky, right? Like I honor and I have so much gratitude that I've had this time, right? Who gets that? Who gets like, go figure your shit out, right? And have all this time to go do it. But also it's a scary place when you're like, oh, it's just me and I gotta work on me. So, but I got a choice. And I could go the other way. I could be like, oh, my business is taking off. I can't do this now. I can't deal with myself. I have a business. But I really want to do. So that's what I do.
Last I heard, your business is rocking too.
Well, that's kind of going good too.
Which makes sense because when you start to take care of yourself, it all falls into place.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're like walking around, you're like, hey, let's just be cool and talk about stuff. And I'm not super stressed out anymore, so this is going to start working.
Yeah, because you start to do things. I don't know if it was a Susie Orman thing that I saw one time. She was talking about like when you start to clear out things, like you organize your wallet, guess what you might find? Some money or an opportunity for money. I mean, today I had a pile of papers over there because y'all were coming, so I didn't. And I was like, oh, I got to clean this up. And there was $20.
Oh my goodness.
Nice. Like randomly, just $20 sitting there. I'm like, fuck. Am I like, yeah, that's what you do. You clean stuff up to make room for more wealth. Or
And you open yourself
Happy.
up to stuff, right? Like you open yourself up to, if I'm gonna open myself up to creativity, because I'm gonna do art now. Oh, right, you're gonna do art from the girl that's not creative, right? Like, if I'm gonna do art, you start living your life like that, creatively. Like, this is not the way that I wanted it to be, but I'm gonna force it this way. Or, there's this whole other slew of options. And I'm gonna go do, you know, if I can paint with really broad strokes and make a mess, my life can be kind of a mess. And I can kind of, oh, this isn't how I planned it. But maybe it's okay. Not normal for me.
Wait.
We're only going to 5. 1, 2, 3.